So we're here at GenCon right now, GenCon Indy 2009. Goodman Games has a couple con specials. We do this every year. Part of it's for products that there's not a mass audience for, but we know they're going to be here at the con. And part of it's just to try things out. So in the first edition market, we're doing Dungeon Crawl Classics number 36. So we're doing a DCC number 36, which was published in the third edition era. But here at the con, we have a first edition adaptation available. And this one's actually a lot of fun because the author was actually playing some first edition and had already converted it on his own and just was like, hey, you have any use for this? So we do at least one first edition module every year, so this is our stuff for GenCon this year. We also are doing a fourth edition module, which is DCC number C9, which stands for the 2009 Convention Special. It's Tomb of the Blind God, and this is actually a fourth edition module. If you look on the inside, it has our new 4D style art. But the cover is by Errol Otis, and we had him do one just because that's cool. So we did it in the old style, and this one's here at GenCon. This one we also released at D&D Experience, DundraCon, KuplaCon, and GenghisCon. So there's sort of different covers. There's actually a white cover as well. There's some different logos and so on. Basically, yeah, everybody likes it. It's funny because we do some with the old school covers, some with there's also a piece of cover art that's more modern, and we did different ones for different audiences. So at D&D Experience, we did the more modern cover art because I think that's all 4th edition players. Here we did the more old school cover art because there's a fair amount of first edition and prior edition players here at Gen Con. No, they're just con specials. Sometimes we have some left over at Gen Con. If that happens, we'll put them on the site after. Then we have how to write adventure modules that don't suck. So for several years, we've done a seminar here at Gen Con called How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck. And it's been pretty popular. We usually get a lot of folks there. So we're just kind of trying this out. It's a book of essays by many of our published adventure authors on tips and tricks on how to write adventures. And it's actually done really well so far, so we might eventually put this in the bookstores. So those are our con specials. We have a couple of announcements. You'll see this on our website as well. But the first is we're working with Ed Greenwood, and we will be publishing a series of books with Ed Greenwood next year called Ed Greenwood's Fantastic Worlds. And the basic concept here is that if you ever talk to Ed, he's just an inspiring guy. Like if you spend 5 minutes talking to him, you walk away with ideas for your campaign. So it's systems neutral books, and it'll be hardbacks focused on specific themes and just ways to integrate all these cool ideas into your campaign. So the first one is going to be focused on castles, keeps, fortifications, things like that. And talking to Ed, he was like, so where does the refuse go? That's where you put the how do you defend against griffins? Like when you start thinking about castles, all the traditional castle designs that we use in D&D really aren't. If medieval Europe actually had griffins and dragon attacks, they would never have evolved castles in the same way. So it's a lot of cool just ideas about how to adapt your campaign to special things.
It's a continuity.
Yeah, and then we're going to have a series of hardbacks after that with that. So then we're also doing, some people know we've done the $2 module in the past, where we published an adventure module that's only $2. It's kind of an introduction to the line. We just announced the $1,000 module. So it doesn't actually cost you $1,000, but it'll be a standalone fantasy adventure, so you can play the adventure on your own, or you can play the adventure and try to figure out the clues, because there are clues in this adventure that will point towards a real-life location. The first person to go to that real-life location and find the hidden object of interest and follow the instructions with that will win $1,000 from Goodman Games. So for all the gamers out there who think they're really good at problem solving and puzzle solving, and this is a chance to apply those same skills to a real-life scenario and see if you can figure out what the object is, where it's hidden, and how to get the prize. So that'll be out in next year, 2010. Yeah, we had to plan ahead for this. We got to hide something somewhere, So that's what we have going on just at Gen Con. I'll talk to you a little bit about Age of Cthulhu and 4th edition. So Age of Cthulhu. This came about, we've actually talked to Chaosium a couple times over the years about different projects. But the premise behind this is the era in which Call of Cthulhu is set. There's a lot going on in the world. It's not all set in the same place, but a lot of the supplements you read tend to focus on the same places. So this line will focus on different places in the world where the mythos can sort of appear and take hold. So the first book was about Egypt, called Death in Luxor. This one's Madness in London Town, which is kind of self-explanatory. And the third coming out is set in Russia. And that one, it's really cool. It sort of ties like the Yeti into the whole mythology and so on. And this one focuses a lot on Stonehenge. But they're one-shots. We assume we're going to be dead by the end.
or insane.
Insane, yeah. There's a little bit of continuity that goes through them in terms of some characters and plot lines and so on. So if your players do make it through, they will recognize some of the recurring characters. But you do not have to survive and go from one to the next. And they're a lot of fun. We print them in sepia tone, so it just feels sort of like an old school book. Like a lot of our modules, they have tons of handouts, so every NPC is illustrated with a handout. There's great maps, and it's something that just gives the players a real immersive experience because of all the options you have, the handouts and so on. They all have pre-gens, so you can just kick off and get a good night of gaming in without having to do a lot of prep work. So
that's great.
So a lot of fun. They're actually doing really well too, so I'm sort of getting the vibe that There's obviously a lot of Call of Cthulhu players out there, but I think there's a lot out there, more than I realized, and they're not real vocal, but there's a lot of people who are very interested in these.
Right.
So then for 4th edition, we have a lot going on. Here at the show, we released DCC number 63, the Warbringer's Son. Every year at GenCon, we run a tournament, the Open Tournament. We get about 200 people every year, and this tournament is kind of a death trap. So every year, the next year, we publish the module and release it in print. So this is the module that has last year's tournament. And inside, it's a lot of fun because if you played in it, you can check your score, there's pictures, so you can find out how you did relative to other teams. And you can read the module and finally find out what it was that killed you. And so that's out here in the show. It'll be out in stores in about 3 weeks. We have the second issue of Level Up, which we had FedEx from the printer and got here yesterday. Level Up has done extremely well so far. It's our 4th edition magazine. It's only $2. It's a wide range of 4th edition content. It's got advertising. If you're one of those guys who wonders what else is out there for 4th edition, you can find out this magazine. So that'll be hitting stores as well.
Great.
We have a Hero's Handbook series. So if you played 3rd edition, you know there are a lot of supplements out there for various races, classes, etc. 4th edition, Goodman Games is one of the few publishers out there. So given that we have what you might call a bigger slice of the pie at this point, we're branching out from modules to also give players lots of options. So this is Hero's Handbook, Tiefling, and Eladrin. And there are just lots of new options for each of these races. We'll eventually expand this into some of the more traditional videos, such as fighters and so on and so forth, class books and race books and so on. But at this point, we have 3 Heroes Handbook books available in stores.
What's the 3rd one?
Dragonborn, which has been out for a couple months. So players can go out and check these out, and there'll be more on the way. And the last thing I'm going to speak about a little bit is about Amethyst. What I'm holding here is actually the free RPG Day adventure that was an Amethyst introduction. But Amethyst is a setting we have coming out later this year that sort of takes the modern world with the technology we know and asks what would happen if we were invaded by fantasy elements. So what would happen if dwarves and dragons and elves and trolls sort of came to be in this real-life fantasy world? So it's a role-playing game with plenty of action and adventure and doing great things, but it's also a bit of a philosophical situation as to how would our modern system of rights treat these new species, things like that. So this is a complete campaign setting set with the 4th edition rules. It'll be coming out later this year. So here at the show we have the Amethyst Introduction Adventure, and in a couple months we have the full hardback available.